public. Then we can see what the media of this actually picks up. So the media, as a pre-selecting entity, is taking a decision on what they want to report about, what is commercially relevant to talk about, and we can see who is taking action against this reportage, who is trying to censor it, who is trying to keep it away from the media or trying to sue them about it. And we can perceive how much of this is being picked up by you and what your actual interest is. So if the media might be reporting on something but nobody else cares about it. Or if you are interested in things, we see a lot of Google News searches coming in from referrers or something, but there actually is no media pickup for material that you are looking for. So we have a very important view on what actually is relevant to certain groups of this society. And this is where we can act on and where we have the possibility now to address these issues or to optimize this. And in that respect, we can see what happens and we can do something about it. We can see that there is a current, and we will talk about this in the next part in a little more in detail. There's a complete eradication of certain parts of history going on. This is much easier than anyone in this crowd here most likely will think. We can see that censorship is being implemented systematically and globally on a technical level, on a political level, on a societal level, so that everyone here either doesn't even know about it or accepts it because it's becoming part of this game. And we can, from this, develop counter-strategies to these problems, which is we can enable whistleblowers to safely communicate their issues without fearing repression from a state or a company or whoever with a power over other people. And we can make sure that we have some proactive anti-censorship environment that we can offer to the media. So we can offer legal backings to all the journalists that need to fear now going into lawsuits against others, that need to fear having their maybe small newspaper shut down over a lawsuit they can't pay, that can't pick up all of the material they maybe want to pick up just because there's a too big power group behind protecting some secret or behind protecting critical information. And in the same way, we can do this in a very cost-effective manner because we are just processing this. We're not asking for any money. We're giving it to whoever wants to report about it. So, as a very easy example, if you're a journalist somewhere, you don't have to have a source sitting in Guantanamo Bay to give you access to a first-rate source document. You can get the Guantanamo Bay manuals right from our website, and you can then read them and process your own story on them. You don't have to copy and paste the DPA or AP press agency's press release. You can read it and find what they have not found because they don't have too much time for it or because they're not interested in it. You can make your own opinion and you can bring your opinion into a global discussion about a certain topic. And that is actually one of the things we're trying to address. Also, we have an increased perception. So an increased perception that is coming out of this is giving you and us and everybody else a new perception or a new perspective on reality. We can perceive new things and new aspects of all of this.
Okay. So many people say on the internet that this is a great boon for censorship resistance and freedom of information. And in some ways they're right, but in other ways this is absolutely not the truth. And it's extremely dangerous to believe that this is the truth. You know, George Orwell said that he who controls the present controls the past, and he who controls the past controls the future. And this is never more true than with electronic archives. Once a newspaper was printed and distributed to libraries everywhere. Even now when newspapers are printed and distributed to libraries everywhere, no one actually goes to the library to read them. They trust the electronic archive. And the electronic archive of most major newspapers is not trustable, and the same goes with every other organization. We have seen many examples of major newspapers, such as The Guardian or The Telegraph, pull material from their archives permanently, material that has been published. So, for an example, this year there were 7 stories removed from The Guardian, The Telegraph and The New Statesman in response to fear over legal costs. Those stories, 6 of those stories had been published over 5 years ago. If you go to the URLs for those stories, you won't see that this story has been removed by legal action or the fear of legal costs. You will see not found. And if you search for the indexes of those newspapers, you will see not found. Those stories not only have ceased to exist, they have ceased to have ever existed. So the centralization that is occurring in archive repository means that the censorship is very easy. Censorship firewalls like the Great Firewall of China and ones that are now sweeping throughout Europe under the basis that they'll combat child porn, but which once established can be used for anything, provide proactive censorship. And that's something that's never really been done before in terms of newspapers. This degree of proactive censorship, once something has been published, censoring it globally, immediately, so people don't know that the information even existed. And of course, there's all the other kinds of censorship which people talk about more in Western societies, which is economic censorship or wanting to have the approval of someone like Rupert Murdoch, their newspaper boss. In the last week, we have released the Thai censorship list, about 1,500 sites in the past year that have been censored. The Thai censorship list, electronic censorship list, mechanism came in originally to defeat child pornography. In the past year, 1,203 web pages that have been censored by the government, all of them state that the reason was lèse majestés, which is criticism of the king. There have been none in the past year that were censored under the basis of child pornography, even though that's why the censorship system was introduced. Denmark has a system, Sweden even has a system, Switzerland has a system, UK has a system, Australia is about to introduce a system. The core mechanisms for censorship are sweeping across the world right now, and Western societies may well end up like Thailand if everyone is not really careful. So in the fourth estate as a mechanism to control national states is also crumbling. So in the past year there have been 12,000 journalists have lost their jobs. 50 years ago there were approximately 50 multinational media companies. Now there are approximately 5. And Rupert Murdoch says that in the next few years there will be about 3 global media players. When you have a global media player, you have a centralization point that can be censored extremely easily. And that's ignoring the sort of economic censorship and unity of political opinion that occurs in a global media giant. So there's a remarkable and disturbing statistic that there are now 40 investigative journalists left in the entire United States working for newspapers. The New York Times has the most, it has 10. Okay, so what about blogs? are blogs the antidote? Absolutely not. They could be the antidote, but there's some key factors that mean that they're not. That mean that in practice they don't do what they should be doing. So we've seen many examples of blog hosting sites pulling down blogs, blog authors pulling down sites. As individuals, they're not strong enough to withstand censorship attempts. Also, the spectrum of new information that has been delivered has not actually increased as a result of blogs. It has actually decreased because most blogs take material that's printed in AP or printed in the New York Times, original research, and just cut and paste it and say, I agree, or my cat disagrees. It's just, from a point of view of a journalist, it's appalling. And blogs are doing the same things, possibly for the same reason that small-town newspapers are doing. That is, small-town newspapers use news wires instead of writing stuff themselves, so they can sell their newspaper and classified ads. Blogs are doing it so they can sell the reputation of the person with minimal effort, so they can now also sell ads with minimal effort. But they're not actually contributing anything original to the world other than saying what their position is. That's a kind of important thing. It's sort of like a polling to understand what the populace's general view is. But you have to have the original source information for civilization to work on. If you don't have original source information, then everyone is just talking to themselves in a circular manner. And so blogs could be a great solution to fourth estate guided civilization, but in practice they're not. So UK libel tourism. This is, we'll just cover this very, very briefly. The United Kingdom law courts are used by oligarchs and kleptocrats all over the world to sue other people all over the world, not in the United Kingdom. So an example we've dealt with recently is Nahdimi Orchi, who's an Iraqi billionaire. He's tried to sue us, he's tried to sue the New Statesman. If you go to the New Statesman now, you'll see on their front page a huge apology to Nahdimi Orchi because they're scared of prospective legal costs. We managed to get this raised in the UK Parliament 1 week ago with 3 cross-party MPs, and one of those MPs, Dennis McShane, said that UK courts had become effectively a Soviet organ of censorship. That's how serious, that's how bad the situation is in the UK. In the United States, laws are being passed to prevent UK judgments being enforced in the US because it's so bad. We should skip this to the question.
Okay. Okay, so we had to skip some slides. I hope that was not too inconvenient. Sorry? Okay, thanks a lot, Jake. So after the talk, you can give Jake Appelbaum a big hand. He just gave us some few more minutes. Okay, so basically, one of the reasons now that we have talked about, let's say, what we're doing and how this is affecting maybe reality and the way that news are processed, we need to talk a little bit about why this is relevant to everyone in this audience and everyone here at this Congress, and maybe people that are streaming in. So, whoever you look at, every citizen of any society needs to take action in the society or needs to become part of those that do something about the current state of events. So you will have to involve to actually help change something. It does not help to reproduce somebody else saying that this is no good and then think I have done something about it because I have reproduced this opinion somewhere. This is actually just desensitizing everybody. You will see this on 1,000 pages. Everybody says the same thing and then you don't think about it anymore. Also, over time, you will all be affected at an increasing level. There's a lot of levels where censorship or restricting information takes place that you are not aware of. You might see the technical perspective. You are aware if there's a new filter at your ISP or something, but you don't know about British libel law that is just suing the information from existence.